Keep watching for tips on how to bring butterflies into your garden, how to make a water feature, and keeping blooms beyond the summer. My guide to drying flowers. Welcome to Step by Step Gardening with me, David Domoney, at Blue Diamond Garden Centre's Bridgemere Show Gardens. Our plant of the month is a big summer favourite. In loads of front gardens and back gardens all over the country, and the flower shows are packed with displays of them. It is the dahlia, a real big favourite. The length of its flowering time through summer, late summer, autumn, right the way up to the first frosts is a big favourite. But of course it's also its variety of different shaped flowers. These are single ones here. Just take a look there. Very uncomplicated flower, easy for the bees to get in and out of, and is usually full of wildlife in the garden. And take a look at the foliage underneath. There's dark foliage, there's lighter green, there's many different types to choose from. And with the dark foliage and the bright blooms in front, it really sets them off. And the shape of the leaf too offers a great deal of interest. Now they're big sun lovers. They originate from Mexico, which explains why, so position them into a very bright spot in the garden, you'll get a lot of performance. There are 57,000 registered cultivars and hybrids of these flowers, so you can find virtually every colour, size and form imaginable. So this is the perfect time to be able to see and choose the one that you particularly like. There's so many different colours that you can get and sizes of the flowers, but not just the single, there's also the double. Look at these beautiful ones here. Now you can see how complicated it is with all the petals and why the bees prefer the single version than the double. There's also pompon varieties. Look at these ones here. Oh, look at the colour of that one at the back there. Almost a raspberry ripple. But if that's not enough, there's also varieties called cactus dahlias. Look at these. My dad had a big display of these beautiful dahlias because they were very popular back in the 70s and 80s, and they've got a bit of a resurgence now because everybody's loving the whole variety of colour and shape. There's bound to be one that'll be your favourite, and you can buy them at this time of year in containers. Very easy to plant, but the good thing about it is, of course, you're choosing the flower that you like by seeing it in flower rather than on a label or in a book. Look at this one here. Flower almost the size of a side plate, and they grow up and they grow bigger. So if you've got lots of big blooms, you may need to put a few stakes or bamboo canes in there to add a bit of support to keep them together. Despite the variety of shapes and sizes, all dahlias like the same sunny growing conditions. And they're hungry plants. They need plenty of high potassium feed to help with their many blooms. They are tender plants, but if you protect them correctly over winter and look after them well, they can last for many years. And there's another trick to help you get more flowers, and I'll cover that a little bit later in the episode. But in the meanwhile, enjoy the glory of the dahlias. I've got a great summer holiday project for you. I'm going to take you through step by step how to add water into the garden, and you don't need a pond, and it's really easy to do. I'm going to create a water feature in this pot here, and then I'm going to plant it into this pot with a load of beautiful plants. Let's start with the water feature. Now, when you're choosing your pot, of course, you need it to be as waterproof as possible. So anything porous like terracotta is a no-go. I've chosen this earthenware container here. Just for extra confidence, I've put a waterproof sealant on the inside. So that's going to be holding my body of water. And I just got a little pump. This is just enough for a trickle of water. And here's what a pump does. You put it in the body of the water, which is in the container, sucks it up, takes it up through the end of the hose, out at the other end, whether it's a fountain or a trickle, and then that water returns back into the main body of water. And that's effectively what the pump's doing, just circulating the water. If you can get one that's got a slight adjuster at the back just to regulate the flow, you can get it just right. And that's really it. Now, I don't want a load of wires hanging over the end. So what I have done is left the drainage hole at the bottom so I can take the point that needs to go into the electric, feed it through the bottom of the pot so the whole pump can go in and the top is left clear. The one thing I've got to do, of course, is now seal the bottom.
I'm going to do that by using a simple silicone sealant that you can fill around the hole to create an airtight seal and leave it to dry fully.
Right, now we're ready to connect up the pump. So what I'm doing is putting a hose, just pushing it onto the edge of the pump, and now the pump will draw up the water through the hose. Now I want to put something at the top of the container, and there's lots of different things you can dress the top of the container with, driftwood or stone, but the problem is you need to stand it on something. And you don't want to fill it up with pebbles to stand things on the top because that takes valuable water space. So I want something that holds the integrity of the water volume, but then allows me to stand something up. And this old plant pot is going to be perfect. I put a hole at the top there. I'm now going to just push it down into the container, threading through the hose. There we are. Look at that. I can stand something straight on the top of it, and there's still just so much water in there too. So the next part is I don't just want to hose up like that. I've actually drilled a hole in a bit of this driftwood. So I'm now going to just push through the hose so it's reaching the surface, and there it is there. And I'm going to thread the spare bit of hose back down into the pot.
I'm adding more driftwood to disguise the plastic pot and give my water feature a very natural feel. Once you're happy with the arrangement, fill the pot with water and switch it on to test the flow.
There we are. Oh, I could have turned it down a little bit more, but no worry. I'll just push it down. Lovely. And the water is just going back into the container and back round. You have to top it up occasionally, but in the scale of things, a little bit of movement in the garden and the sound of rippling water.
Now, fill your larger pot with soil and compact the area where the water feature is going to sit so it doesn't sink over time.
Now, I've just put it to the edge to allow plenty of space for planting and also to stop the plants masking the front of the water feature. I'm only going to use ferns, different foliage types of ferns. So I'm aiming for the foliage just to come round the outside and nestle in. Along the outside I'm going to use one of these. This is a splenium fern. I quite like the texture difference between the ferns. They look lovely. A big space at the back for a sertomium. Another bit of foliage. This is a big plant. Look at this. This is going to really set things off in the back here. There we are, all planted up. Lovely fern collection here. All we need is a little woodland spring. Hey presto. Doesn't that look lovely? So easy to add water into the garden. The tranquil sound of it trickling, the sight as the sunlight catches it, and beautiful ferns around the outside. All in one pot.
The beauty of summer is your herbaceous perennials and many of your shrubs are in full flower and looking beautiful. But you know what it's like? 2 or 3 weeks into summer, a lot of those hot days, some of the flowers start to finish. And you've got a combination of plants with some beautiful flowers and some finished flowers, and it doesn't quite look as spectacular as it did at the beginning of the season. Well, I'm going to give you a guide on how to make sure these plants not only look great, but also continue to flower. This is my guide to deadheading. First of all, what is deadheading? Well, it's removing flower heads that are finished flowering, and you're removing them for a variety of reasons. For a start off, you're taking them off so the whole plant looks a great deal tidier. But you're also taking them off to stop the plant going into the process of producing seed. Instead, it's going, hold on, I'm short of a few flowers here, and we'll start producing more flowers. So deadheading equals more flowers for quite a lot of plants, and it helps with plant health. You haven't got flowers rotting in position if you get quite a lot of rain or humid climate. So what's the technique? This is a hemerocallis, otherwise known as a daylily. With this, you just take off the spent flowers. These are all buds, so these will continue to open. When all the buds have opened and you removed all the flowers, then with your secateurs, cut it down to the next branch that has a series of buds on. And when that's finished and there's no more buds all the way down, you snip it off right at the base. And if you're doing that on a regular basis, you're rediverting that energy into producing flowers, and also you're making it look nice, and the health of the plant is good too. There you are. What a difference, and easy to do. Little and often, and you'll always have your plant looking at its best. Process is the exact same with dahlias. Spot where a flower's finished, but on this they're on a single stem. Just follow it right the way down to a leaf joint and snip it clean and take that away. There we are, right the way down. Take those off with a little snip. Now some people don't even wait till the flower has fully finished. They deadhead that. But it's a matter of taste really. I like to leave them open as long as I can, and then when they go over, you can see these ones here are starting to fade. Take a look at that one there, then you know that's done. Now it may look as if I've taken off quite a few flowers, but look in detail of how many more buds are springing up, waiting to open into flower. And because I'm deadheading, I am encouraging the plant to produce more and more flowers throughout the summer, right into the autumn. Use the same method for bedding plants like geraniums by picking off the individual spent flowers, or if the whole head's gone, remove the stem right at the base. It'll keep your display looking in tip-top condition throughout the season. Now there are some plants, like peonies, that if you remove their flower heads, it doesn't necessarily encourage more buds afterwards because it's gone through its flowering time. But here you're trimming away the old flower heads for a couple of reasons. One, so they don't remain on there and can cause disease. Two, to make the plant look better. But the third reason is to not let the plant use up all its energy producing seed, and instead use the energy in foliage and stronger root system. So follow the head of the flower down to a branch or a lower leaf joint and cut it at an angle and take it completely out, ready for the compost heap. There you go. Looks a lot tidier, and all the energy isn't going into producing seed, it's producing a stronger plant. Now some flowers in my garden I leave completely to finish flowering and let the flowers die on the plant itself. These heleniums here, when the petals fall off, they leave these little buttons that produce seed, and later on in the year, for the insects and the birds that visit the garden, it's a vital source of food. And there are many other plants, things like coneflowers or alliums or teasel, that's worth leaving in the garden to give a bit of winter structure, but also great for the wildlife that visits too. So there you have it. Deadhead to make your plants look great while they're still flowering. Also to encourage more flowers, or tidy it up to make sure that the energy of the plant's not going into seed, but into growing healthier plants. Deadheading is a real plus for your garden. Fancy getting cooking in your own garden? We've got a Broil King Crown Kettle barbecue to give away, and entering this competition is completely free. Click on the link in the description, leave a comment below, and subscribe to both Blue Diamond and Broil King's UK and Ireland YouTube channels to enter. Open to UK residents only, closes on the 27th of August 2026 at 11:59 PM. Terms and conditions apply. Just over a month ago, I took some softwood cuttings of my geraniums and rosemary, and they're doing really well.
And have a look at them now. Remember, these are free plants. They're small branches of the original mother plant, potted up. Look, roots coming through the bottom, and it's going to be an exact copy of the original plant because it's a clonal cutting. Now, here's what you do at this time is remove any flowers. I've left these on really to show you, but I'm taking the flowers off so the plant is not wasting energy in producing flowers or producing seed. Take the buds off as well, and instead is using that energy to create a strong root system and a healthy top part of the plant. Now with our rosemary cuttings, these have done incredibly well. Look, the roots are even growing at the bottom of the seed tray. Now this is a key time to pinch them out. So they look like loads of little Christmas trees at the moment, but I don't want them to just grow tall and thin. I want them to create a nice bush. So here, with the secateurs, I go down to a leaf joint about halfway and just snip the top out like that. By taking the top off, it's encouraging the lower branches to grow, and it becomes much more of a bushier plant.
And my tomatoes are coming along a treat too. Now they're ripening, I could harvest them. But it's not all good news in the garden.
Now these are the lilies that we grew earlier on this year, and they've been a lovely show of flowers. But now, just as the flowers are fading, the plant's under attack. As you can see, there's some bite marks all over the foliage. Hardly any leaf has escaped, and there's also horrible, sticky, black blobs all over it. This is the work of the lily beetle.
Lily beetles are a pest that eat lilies and fritillarias. You'll spot them between March and October, and are quite easy to identify. The adult is a small red beetle, 6 to 8 millimeters in size. That's about the same size as a ladybird, but the lily beetles are longer and thinner, and they are hungry critters.
There we are, just under the leaf there. That's the larva. I've got these on, and for a good reason. Let's get one up and show you what you get. See this horrible black and brown stuff on the outside? That's its own excrement. It covers itself in it. And there we are, just underneath is the little grub. Look at that. Who says horticulture doesn't take you to different levels? And that is what has been eating my lily. Now, to protect your plants, you have to take every one of these off. I mean, the good news is it doesn't affect the flowering, it only affects the foliage. But remember, all this foliage here is putting energy back into the bulb for next year's flower. So if you've lost all the foliage, the flowers next year won't be as good. So you have to go through and scrape off each one. Usually, if you can catch them before they become little grubs like this, you'll see on the underside of the leaf a line of eggs. You can just rub off the eggs, and you're taking them off before it gets to this stage. Now, you've actually got to completely get rid of them. You've got to give them the squish, because if not, they'll become lily beetles, and they will be also laying more eggs. It's absolutely essential all of these lily beetles are removed off your plants. Not the most pleasant job in the garden, but the sight and the beauty of the flowers, believe me, they're worth it.
Summer is the most colourful season in the garden, but as well as the rich green leaves and colourful flowers, there are also butterflies, one of the most marvellous insects that visits our gardens. They're great for pollination, they provide food for birds, and they support a healthy ecosystem.
Unfortunately, in recent decades, we've seen a decline in both butterflies and moths, really because we're getting far too tidy with nature, all of us. But the good news is, as gardeners, we can make a difference in supplying habitat and food for butterflies. So this is my masterclass on how you can increase the butterfly count in your garden.
Let's start with my top UK garden butterflies and moths. One of our most striking butterflies is the red admiral. It has black wings, bright red bands and bold white markings. It's impossible to miss. Red admirals are intrepid flyers, travelling here on southerly winds from North Africa and the Mediterranean. The peacock butterfly is a showstopper. These huge eye spots are designed to startle predators, and they're one of the most recognisable patterns in the British countryside. But the underside of their wings look more like dead leaves, which is great because it camouflages them perfectly. The small tortoiseshell has beautiful orange wings edged with blue markings. It's often one of the first butterflies you'll spot in spring, and they're often seen in urban as well as rural areas. Some people say the brimstone's buttery yellow wings inspired the name butterfly. The brimstone needs very specific plants for their caterpillars, like alder, buckthorn and buckthorn, so plant those for more brimstones. The bright blue holly blue is a high flyer amongst the bushes and trees rather than the ground levels. They have 2 broods every year, with caterpillars feeding on holly in spring and ivy in summer. With their white wings and bright orange wingtips, the male orange-tipped butterflies are unmistakable. The females are white with black wingtips. They prefer damp habitats like woodland glades and riverbanks. There are many beautiful moths, but I'll mention the most spectacular, the hummingbird hawk moth. And it's easy to mistake for a hummingbird. They feed on the nectar of tube-shaped flowers using their long proboscis whilst hovering in the air. They are stunning.
So what can us gardeners do to attract butterflies into the garden? Well, first of all, don't just think about the butterfly stage. The best place to start is to leave a part of your garden wild, especially for nettles, because the butterflies love them. They come along and lay the eggs. And when the eggs hatch into caterpillars, they love eating the leaves of the nettles. Very nutritious to accelerate their growth. And there's another advantage too. Because stinging nettles sting, they also ward off some other predators. So it's a really good nursery for butterflies. Now, the right plants for butterflies are the ones that are rich in sugary nectar. And one of the favourites is the Dahlia. So popular by butterflies, it's called the butterfly bush. But if you take a look, it's not one flower, this. Inside this, there's hundreds of small flowers, all rich with this sugary nectar, which makes it a real destination point for butterflies. There are varieties that aren't quite as big as this that you can have in your garden, and there's a massive colour choice as well. From these blues to dark purples to pinks to whites, there's something that makes it look great in your garden, and then it becomes animated by a kaleidoscope of butterflies.
There are plenty of other nectar-rich plants, many labelled in your garden centre, like scabious or Verbena bonariensis.
If you haven't got a big garden for plants like this giant verbena, lovely butterfly plant, you can pot up containers for a balcony or even a patio, but use lantanas. Similar family as the verbena, lovely citrus fragrance to the foliage, and this is the plant that you'll see in almost every butterfly farm because they absolutely love it. Put it in a pot on the patio and that'll bring them in.
To make sure there's a ready supply of food for butterflies throughout their growing period, it's great to have later flowering plants, and sedum, or the ice plant, is pretty good for this. Look, all these buds have yet to open, so while the buddleias and the verbenas out, these are getting ready, and later when the others are starting to slow down in flowering, these are opening. But you can also extend the flowering time of your plants. If you prune a buddleia hard down, it'll grow up and flower slightly later than a buddleia that hasn't been pruned. And here I did the Chelsea chop in May. I chopped this sedum at the front down by half. So as you can see, the one behind that hasn't been chopped down is more advanced in its flowering and buds. And the one at the front, which is slightly more compact now because I have given it a prune, the buds are later. So this will flower first, this will then flower afterwards, giving a longer period of food for my butterflies.
And here are more top tips for butterfly-friendly gardening. Give butterflies some warm, sheltered spots where they can bask in the sun. Try not to use pesticides. Don't be too tidy, so you can offer some shelter for hibernating butterflies. And with those steps, may your garden be full of beautiful butterflies.
Now summer is in full bloom. It's the ideal time to harvest some of your flowers to dry and use indoors, either as decoration, potpourri, or even to make your own confetti. I'm going to show you how you can harvest your flowers and dry them yourself. Now roses are a really good candidate for drying the flowers. This is called Eden. There's a nice pink centre to it that as the flower ages turns pure white. I'm taking this one right the way back to here where there's a leaf joint and harvesting the flower. Look at that. Now I am not harvesting ones that are just about to go over. You might think that one's going over, so I'll use that for drying. No, choose the better flower that's looking 100% perfect. And at the top here, I'm going to harvest this younger one as well. That's what it looks like when it's younger. See the pink in the centre and the petals on the outside? And if I dry it right, I'm going to hold the integrity of that colour with dried petals. There we go. What a beautiful rose. Another great flower, not only for its vibrant colour and a different style and shape of flower completely to the rose, but with the fragrance, is lavender. Really good for drying, and it keeps its colour as well. The secret is to choose the flower looking at its best and take quite a bit of the stem of it as well. Cut it down to a leaf joint at the bottom and take the whole flower out like this. Beautiful. And finally, I'm going to harvest some honeysuckle flowers. The fragrance is fantastic here. I'm not going to cut off the stems. I'm going to pull off the individual flowers right from the base. There we go, white one, a yellow one. Take your time to choose the very best. Oh, lovely. Now it's a real simple process in drying the flowers. All you need is an oven. Turn on the temperature at the lowest setting your oven can possibly do. It's better to do it slow to dry it out. You just need a baking tray and some baking paper, and then lay out your flowers. Place them into position, trying not to have the flowers to touch each other. There we are. I'm putting this rose in whole, because I like to hold it together. With the other ones here, I'm actually separating the petals, and again, putting the petals down so they're not touching each other. And finally, the honeysuckle. Just dotting those about. And then take it, put it into the oven and leave it for about 15 to 30 minutes. I check it on a regular basis, just have a little look inside. Some of the bigger stuff you might wish to turn over to make sure there's an even dispersal of heat to aid the drying process. Don't leave it in too long, they'll eventually all turn brown otherwise. And when they're at the point that they're all dry, they should look something like this.
This is another batch with pink roses that I dried earlier.
Isn't that marvellous? The petals
have held their colour and their fragrance. The little honeysuckles look quite small, but they pack a punch with the fragrance, and that is lovely potpourri. Here's what a flower looks like when you put it in whole rather than just the petals. And here's the real winners. The lavender kept its colour, kept its fragrance, looks pretty good. Ideal to use as decoration inside the home, or a little bit of natural confetti. Well, that's it for this episode. If you have a topic that you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please put it in the comments below. And why not subscribe to this channel for more great free inspirational garden content. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your garden.